Hello viewers, welcome to my channel. I'm Hasham Ali Khan. Last two videos I have explained you about the meaning of the term lease and what are the features of leasing, what are the advantages, disadvantages of leasing and types of lease. The first type I have explained, that is financial lease, in the last video. In this video I'm going to explain you the other types of leases like operating lease, sale and lease back or leverage lease or cross-border lease. And apart from these types of leases, I am going to explain you about the differences between hire purchase and lease. So most often a question will be asked in examination regarding these topics. So watch the video till the end, don't skip in between. If you have not watched the earlier videos, I suggest you go to the playlist of my channel, select the subject financial institutions and markets, watch the videos on leasing, be perfect on the concept, then only you can be able to understand this. Actually, leasing is an arrangement in which a business or organization can be able to use the asset without owning, without getting the title. The business can be able to make use the asset. It's a very widely used financing technique to purchase the fixed assets or capital assets. But it will have their own advantages and also disadvantages, which we have already discussed. So before starting the other types of lease, take the screenshot of the points which I've written on the board, then I'll explain. Now, the second type of lease is the operating lease. The first type of lease, financial lease, we have already discussed in the last video. In financial lease, it's a long-term lease where the risk and reward are substantially transferred by the lessor to the lessee. That means the duration of the lease is almost equal to the life of the asset. It is non-cancelable lease, non-revocable lease. All these things we have already discussed in the previous video. Now, second type of lease is operating lease. It's entirely different compared to finance lease. So, in an operating lease, the lessee acquires the right to use the asset for a short period, which is less than the economic life of the asset. First of all, this operating lease is a short period lease. That means the lessee has taken the asset for a short period of time, which is less than the economic life of the asset. Example, an asset economic life is, let it be 10 years, but the lessee wants the asset to be taken on lease only for 3 years. Economic life is 10 years, but the lease period is only 3 years. It will not be treated as financial lease. It will be treated as an operating lease. The lease may be renewed after the expiry of the period. One clause will be given that after the period of the lease, the lessee has the right to renew it for another term. Now, this arrangement is adopted in case of assets which are subject to rapid technological advancement. Due to advancement in technology, many assets are becoming obsolete. So in those situations that technological advancement will make the asset obsolete, for those assets, this operating lease is more suitable. Next one is the risk and rewards are incidental to ownership of the asset, including the risk of obsolescence and responsibility of maintenance of the asset remain with the lessor. In the previous video, I have explained you that in financial lease, the risk and reward will be transferred by the lessor to the lessee. Now, the lessee can enjoy the asset, can get all the rewards, but at the same time, he has to bear all the risk also regarding the repair, maintenance, accident or obsolescence. Whatever risk is there, lessee has to bear. But in case of operating lease, the risk will be borne by the lessor, not the lessee. The owner has to bear the risk. and the total investment of the lessor is not recovered through the lease rental. One of the main characteristic feature of financial lease is, in financial lease, the lessor can be able to recover the entire cost of investment in the primary period. In the primary period of lease, the lessor can be able to recover the entire investment plus return on investment. Whereas in case of operating lease, the lessor cannot be able to recover the full cost during the period of lease. From rental, lease rental, the lessor cannot be able to recover because it's a short period lease. It is only for a short period lease. That's why the entire amount cannot be recovered. Hence, operating lease is relatively more expensive. So if you compare the lease rental, the lease rentals are higher in case of operating lease, whereas the lease rentals are lower in case of financial lease. The reason is obvious. He cannot be able to recover the full amount. Technological advancement, due to which many assets will become obsolete. The risk is with the lessor. That's why he will charge more lease rental. Now, what are the features of operating lease? The first feature of operating lease is lease term is much lower than the economic life of the asset. It does not impose any long-term obligation on either the lessor or the lessee. It's a short period contract. Only for a short period, the lessor has given the asset on lease to the lessee for a short period. That means the life of the asset is very large, very high, whereas only a short period. Then secondly, it usually contains a cancellation clause by virtue of which the lessor and lessee can terminate the lease at any time by giving a due notice to the other party. No penalty is charged. One of the features of financial lease is it is non-cancelable, non-revocable unless a heavy penalty is paid. The clause is there in the financial lease that once the agreement is signed, both the parties are bound by the agreement. But here in case of operating lease, it is cancelable by giving due notice to the other party. One clause will be given in the operating lease agreement that any party can terminate the contract by giving a prior notice so and so period. No heavy penalty will be charged. Next one, the lessor provides technical know-how to the leased asset to the lessee. Sometimes some technical training is required. The technical training know-how should be given by the lessor to the lessee regarding the usage of the asset. Risk and reward incidental to ownership of the asset is borne by the lessor. Very important difference between financial lease and operating lease. In financial lease, the risk and reward are entirely borne by the lessee. Whereas in operating lease, the risk and reward belongs to the lessor. Then the lessor is unable to recover its capital outlay plus the return on the funds invested during the lease term. The lessor has to depend on renewal or leasing the asset to different lessee for recovery of his or investment. Now see, in case of operating lease, the lessor cannot be able to recover fully the entire investment plus return from one lessee. If the lessee is renewing the agreement, then definitely he can be able to recover. But if renewal is not done, then lessor has to search any other lessee, because from one lessee itself he cannot be able to recover the complete investment and return. The maintenance of the lease equipment is also usually responsibility of the lessor. The maintenance, repairing, or risk of obsolescence, everything should be borne by the lessor. Then the lease rental is a revenue income for the lessor and revenue expense for the lessee. See, lease rentals are paid by the lessee to the lessor. From lessor point of view, the lease rental is an income which is taxable. Whereas from lessee point of view, the lease rental paid is an expense which is deductible for calculating income under Income Tax Act. That's all. So these are some of the features of operating lease. So after listening this lecture, definitely you can be able to write excellently in examination. The conceptual clarity will be there, no doubt about it. I'm explaining each and every point in detail. Now, two types of lease I have completed: financial lease and operating lease. The third type of lease is sale and leaseback. Sale and leaseback. In this type of lease, first of all, a person, a business is selling the asset to a leasing company, then taking the same asset back from the leasing company on lease. Example, a business has purchased an asset for 5 lakh rupees and the asset is used. After 1 year, the business is finding a working capital problem, lack of funds, cash shortage is there. At that time, already 5 lakh rupees machine they have purchased. Now this 5 lakh rupees machine which they have purchased and used for 1 year, that will be sold to a leasing company. This company will approach the leasing company, lessor, and they will ask, will you purchase my asset? The lessor will say, the leasing company will purchase the asset. And the same asset will be given on lease to the company, same company. So earlier, they were using the owned asset. Now, they are using the leased asset. This is called a sale and leaseback. So why this sale and leaseback will be resorted to? Due to the cash shortage problem. When the business is finding it liquidity problem, cash shortage problem, they will resort to like this: selling the asset to a leasing company and taking back on lease the same asset. That is called sale and leaseback. Next is leveraged lease. Sometimes the lessor company will approach the lender for financing the leased asset. For example, ABC is a leasing company, and ABC leasing company got a customer. The customer wants to purchase an asset for 80 lakh. 80 lakh rupees is the cost of the asset which is required by one of the customer. But 80 lakh worth of asset ABC company cannot purchase. They don't have so much of funds to purchase the asset by 80 lakh rupees and give this 80 lakh rupees asset to the customer, to the lessee. They don't have so much of capability. So what they will do, the leasing company will approach a banker, the third party, lender of funds, financer. So this leasing company will approach XYZ bank and explain to the bank regarding this project, regarding this proposal. If the bank agrees, the bank will finance substantial part of the asset. Example, the leasing company is agreeing to invest 10 lakh. Remaining 70 lakh is financed by the banker or financial institution. So in this case, 70 lakh rupees financed by the banker, 10 lakh rupees invested by the leasing company, total 80 lakh rupees. The leasing company will purchase the asset of 80 lakh rupees and give this asset to the lessee. Now every year, periodically, lease rentals are paid by the lessee to the lessor, that is leasing company. The leasing company from lease rental will pay the interest to the banker. Interest to the banker along with the installment. The bank has financed, so the leasing company has to repay the loan with interest. So from the lease rental amounts, the loan installment plus interest will be paid. This is called leveraged lease. So in leveraged lease, three parties are there. That is the lessee, lessor, and the financer or lender of money. Normally the lender of money is the commercial bank or any financial institution. Next comes cross-border lease. Name itself is clear. Cross-border lease means the lease which is conducted by two parties staying at two different countries. So after globalization, this cross-border lease is becoming more and more popular, particularly in aviation industry, shipping industry, where huge capital is required and the technological advancement is also high. So in that case, no domestic lessor will come forward to lease. In that case, the lease can be taken from cross-border leasing. That means the lessor and lessee belongs to two different countries. That is called cross-border lease. That's all. So I have explained you about financial lease, operating lease, lease sale and lease back, then leverage lease and cross-border lease. Now I am coming to the last topic called differences between hire purchase and lease. So a business organization can take the asset either on hire purchase or can take the asset on lease. But both these techniques are entirely different. So in examination, a question may be asked, explain the differences between the hire purchase and lease. So here in a tabular form, I try to explain you. First of all, in hire purchase, the ownership is with the seller but gets transferred on the payment of the last installment. Already in the last video, I have explained that in hire purchase system, the hire vendor will give the asset to the hire purchaser. The ownership lies with the hire vendor. At the end of the agreement time period, when the last installment is paid by the by the hire purchaser, then the ownership will be transferred by the hire vendor to the hire purchaser. So till the last installment paid, the ownership is retained by the hire vendor. Hire vendor is the owner. That is in the case of HP. Now in the case of lease, the ownership is with the lessor. The lessee is given option of buying the asset or renewing the lease at the end of the lease period. Now, the owner is always the lessor in case of lease. In case of lease, the lessor will only give the possession of the asset to the lessee and gives the option that at the end of the lease period, either the lessee can purchase the asset or he can renew the lease agreement. That is the first difference. Second difference, depreciation can be claimed by the owner. So in hire purchase, who is the owner? Hire vendor is the owner. So hire vendor is entitled to get the depreciation. In case of lease, the lessor is the owner. The depreciation benefit can be given only to lessor. The lessee cannot claim depreciation. Only the interest component of the installment is considered as expense for tax deduction. For calculating the income, for income tax purpose, all expenses will be deducted. So whatever hire purchase installment is paid, that installment is not deductible under Income Tax Act. Only the interest part is deductible. Suppose the installment paid is 10,000. In that 10,000, 8,000 is the principal amount and 2,000 is the interest. Total 10,000. Income Tax Act says only 2,000 interest will be deductible. 8,000 rupees principal amount paid is not deductible. Next, in case of lease, the entire lease rental is considered as expense for calculating income. So Income Tax Act says the lessee, whatever lease rental the lessee pays, the complete lease rental is deductible for computing income under Income Tax Act. Duration is usually short term. In case of hire purchase, the asset will be given on hire purchase only for a short period, like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. That's it. But in case of lease, it's a long-term agreement. The lease period may go for 20 years, 40 years, 50 years, like that. So duration of the lease is normally greater than the duration of the hire purchase. Hire purchase is chosen for relatively lower valued assets. One of the difference is only for small value assets, normally hire purchase will be applied. Example, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, like that. But the amount of the asset, if it is large, it will not be given on hire purchase. Example, the ship. The cost of the ship is, let it be 25 crore. This 25 crore worth of ship cannot be given on hire purchase because the cost is heavy. In that case, the 25 crore ship can be obtained on lease. So lease can be given for costly assets, whereas for small valued assets, hire purchase is better. HP installments are easy to calculate as they are in the nature of loan. Calculation of installment in HP is relatively easier because it is just like a loan. It is just like a loan given by the hire vendor to the hire purchaser. So calculation of installment is very easy, whereas calculation of lease rental is a complicated matter, because in lease rental, the lessor has to find out how much benefit the lessee is going to get. What is the cost of using the asset? What is the cost of using the asset? On that basis, lease rental will be fixed. So calculation of lease rental is little bit complicated than the calculation of installment in HP. Last one is, it is the responsibility of the hire purchaser for repair and maintenance. So regarding the repair and maintenance of the asset, it is the responsibility of hire purchaser in case of HP. But in case of lease agreement, the repair and maintenance of the asset is the responsibility of lessee in case of financial lease. So in case of financial lease, all the repair, maintenance, insurance should be borne by the lessee. Whereas in case of operating lease, it is the responsibility of the lessor to bear the repair, maintenance, insurance. That's it. So all the points I have explained about the different types of lease and also the differences between hire purchase and lease agreement. Hope you are completely clear about the concept of lease in these 3 videos which I have explained. I have explained to the maximum of my ability. So if you are satisfied, give a like to the video, share my channel in your group, in your friend circle, so that more students can watch the video and enhance the knowledge. Give your comments. Apart from this, I have uploaded so many other subjects videos. Visit the playlist and take your concerned subject, watch till the end to get the complete command. Inshallah, we will take the next topic in the next video.